I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support. Hey y'all, it's Kate from Literary Apothecary and welcome back to another episode of Bibliotherapy Sunday. Now today's video I'm going to be talking about To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is one of my absolute favorite classics. I read this as part of our Banned Books Readathon bingo board. This I read as the favorite banned book prompt. This book, I'll talk about why in just a minute, but this book is challenged or banned almost every year. It makes the list year after year after year. I think it's an absolutely incredible book, and they adapted this into a movie just a few years after it was published, and they did a fantastic job. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that they have not remade that movie yet. I think that movie came out in like 1963, 64, back when it was still in black and white. With the film was released in December of 1962. The book was only published in 1960, and we have Gregory Peck that plays Atticus Finch. He does it masterfully. He does it so perfect that I like this. You know, these days it feels like every film is being remade or redone or reimagined or whatever you want to call it. But the film adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird is still the only one from 1962 in black and white with Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch, because it was just a masterpiece, perfection. But today we're here to talk about the book, the novel, which I also really think is a masterpiece. So this book won the Pulitzer Prize. It's been translated into over 40 languages, sold more than 30 million copies worldwide, and has been voted one of the best novels of the 20th century by librarians all across the country. Everyone, I won't say everyone because we'll get to that in just a minute. So many people have adored To Kill a Mockingbird. It's just absolutely fantastic. I don't know. It just resonates so well with me. So, spoiler-free summary. This video is going to be a little bit rambly because I just love this book so much. It just makes me feel so many things. This To Kill a Mockingbird takes place in 1933 in Alabama, USA. So the deep, deep South. Like I said, this was published in 1960. This is a gripping, heart-wrenching, and wholly remarkable tale of the coming of age in a South poised by virulent prejudice. It views a world of great beauty and savage inequalities through the eyes of a young girl as her father, a crusading local lawyer, risks everything to defend a black man unjustly accused of a terrible crime. Now that is the Goodreads description for this book, and I feel like it kind of plays up some of the things a little bit. You know, you can tell it was written by a white person by the type of language that it used. So here I'm going to talk about why this book has been banned. This book has been banned and challenged on both sides of the political spectrum, both sides of the racial spectrum. You have white people wanting to ban it because of, you know, it showing untoward things. Our innocent black man has been accused of raping a white woman, and sometimes they go into a little bit of detail, especially in the courtroom. So the whole premise of this book is Atticus Finch, our lawyer, is defending this innocent black man, Tom Robinson, and the courtroom and the trial is essentially the center of this focus with this whole town surrounding it. Recently, there have been people on the other side of the racial spectrum that have been trying to get this book banned and challenging this book because it uses the N-word, because this was written in the 1960s and it takes place in the 1930s. And I understand the argument, but I feel like it was done to portray the society then. It wasn't used. Harper Lee didn't use that word in a derogatory way as Harper Lee. She used that word to portray just how bad and racist this town in Alabama was. And it's also being challenged now because people claim that it has the white savior syndrome, because Atticus Finch is white and the rest of the entire town is white, just about, except for, you know, a few characters that we meet along the way. And Atticus Finch, you know, defends Tom Robinson in court, and, you know, the Goodreads description says he is a crusading local lawyer. The other side to Atticus Finch being Tom Robinson's lawyer is, and you don't get this unless you read the book because it's not talked about ever, but the judge of this case appointed Atticus Finch as Tom Robinson's lawyer because he knew out of anyone in that entire town, Atticus would get Tom Robinson as close to a fair trial as he possibly could. Because yes, Atticus Finch is a crusading man. He believes in equality of all humans. He believes that blacks should be equal as whites, and he will fight for that belief. He will be friends with anyone no matter what their color is, and stand up for people that he believes are innocent no matter what their color is. And so yes, maybe there is a little bit of white savior syndrome, but also, like, Atticus Finch was appointed as this lawyer, and he was the only person in this entire town, besides Tom Robinson's family, to stand up for him, to say, I believe with my entire heart that this man is innocent. Everyone else thought he was guilty. Half the town wanted to murder him just based off of this false accusation, because he was a black man. And so, yes, I can see there is a little bit of white savior syndrome, but also just Atticus Finch is just a fantastic person. So I am talking about this on Bibliotherapy Sunday because this is actually a recommendation by the Novel Cure for 2 bibliotherapy ailments, 2 life ailments. The first, while we're speaking of Atticus Finch, is being a single parent. So in a town that is completely overrun by racism, Atticus Finch is trying to both raise his 2 children on his own, Jem and Scout, and defend an innocent black man who was wrongfully accused of rape. He tries to do right by all, by everyone. What he thinks is right, he will fight to the day he dies. Knowing that at the end of the day, someone will have to face it. Even though he was appointed as lawyer, he agreed to this case, even knowing that this is going to come back on him. His kids might suffer a little bit for it in school, but he believed that this was the truly right thing to do in life. It was to defend a man that he knew was innocent, and knew that if he wasn't the lawyer for Tom Robinson, then it would end even worse than he could imagine. It didn't end happily for Tom Robinson. I will say, I won't tell you anymore. I won't give away spoilers. This is still a spoiler-free review, but Atticus Finch fights with all of his heart for Tom Robinson. And he teaches his kids about humanity, and that no matter what color skin you are, a person should be treated the same. Every man is created equal. He truly believes in that saying, and he teaches his kids to grow up to believe that. you can be friends with whoever you want, no matter what skin they are. And he teaches them about courage. Now, one of my favorite quotes from the book, I'm going to read to you. This is at the end of part 1. I'd say maybe a little bit before we get to the halfway part. And this is Atticus talking to Jem, his oldest kid, the boy. There's a boy and there's a girl, Jem and Scout. And they're talking about this neighbor who was a black woman, and she fought for what she believed in. And Atticus is teaching Jem about courage and what true courage really is. He says, Mrs. Dubose had her own views about things, a lot different from mine, maybe, son. I told you that if you hadn't lost your head, I'd have made you go read to her. I wanted you to see something about her. I wanted you to see what real courage is. Instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand, it's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway. And you see it through no matter what. You rarely win, but sometimes you do. Mrs. Dubose won all 98 pounds of her. According to her views, she died beholden to nothing and nobody. She was the bravest person I ever knew. And that sums up Atticus Finch's beliefs really well. The other thing that sums up Atticus, and as a single parent raising 2 kids, is that when he's a little bit earlier in the novel, he's talking to Scout, the youngest, the girl, about taking on Tom Robinson's case and why he chose to do it. Even though he knows the rest of the town is absolutely going to hate him, he's going to have to suffer for it. He hopes he's the only one in the family that will have to suffer for it, but he knows someone's going to have to suffer for it. And he says, sometimes doing what's right is not always doing what's easy. And Scout says, most folks seem to think that they're right and you are wrong for defending this man. And Atticus's response says, they're certainly entitled to think that, and they're entitled to full respect for their opinions, said Atticus. But before I can live with other folks, I've got to live with myself. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience. So Atticus teaches Scout about consciousness and doing what's right even though everyone else around you believes that you are wrong for doing it. And it's just lessons like that that I truly, truly respect Atticus Finch as a father and as a person, and I believe he's one of the best fictional characters in all of writing. Now, the other recommendation that we have for Bibliotherapy Sunday is To Kill a Mockingbird, according to the Novel Cure, is one of the 10 best novels for teenagers. So in To Kill a Mockingbird, not only do we have all of the things surrounding the trial and Atticus and Tom Robinson, but we also have not one but 2 coming of age stories here. A lot of the times when people talk about To Kill a Mockingbird, it's focused on Scout, who is the youngest child in this family. She's the only girl. She's a bit of a tomboy. And this, in our description earlier, it said we get this book through a young girl's point of view. That's Scout. She's growing up in this book, but she learns a lot of important lessons in life through this book. She learns that sometimes even people you've known your entire life can be bad, can have bad thoughts, can be racist and evil in their thoughts. People that you see every day, your teachers can have these thoughts, and she's learned this. The teacher was teaching them about the Holocaust in World War II and Hitler, and how Hitler was evil and wrong for imprisoning the Jews and torturing them and killing them through mass murder. But then Scout, on the other side of that coin, Scout overhears this same teacher walking out of the courtroom after a day in trial, for Tom Robinson's trial, saying he deserved it, his family deserved it, they need to learn their lessons just because they're black. And she asks Jem, her older brother, who had this teacher also, about this. And Jem has to tell her the reality that sometimes people that you've known your entire life can have very, very bad thoughts. And Scout has to come to terms with this through this book and see this play out day after day after day with different people throughout the town that she's grown up with and known. Another tough lesson that Scout learns is, just like we talked about just a minute ago, what's right and what's easy aren't always the same thing. But Atticus tries to instill in her and Scout's mind that you should always, always do what's right, even when it's not the easiest thing to do. And so our second coming of age story is about Jem, the older brother. He's the big brother. And throughout this novel, Jem matures so much. He starts to see things through Atticus's eyes as a, quote, grown man. And he's still, a teenager at this point, but he's starting to see the world through more grown and matured eyes. And so I think it's, like I said, a lot of times this book is talked about with Scout as the coming of age story, but I see it as two coming of age stories because both Scout and Jem come to these realizations at different times for different reasons in different ways. And I can't say enough good things about To Kill a Mockingbird. I know some people view it differently, and maybe they'll say because I'm white, I view it this way. And, just as Atticus said, everyone is welcome to their own thoughts. They can think, what does he say? Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. My opinion is this is a masterpiece of the ages and will go down as one through all time. It is still, this is the, I think, 4th or 5th time I've read this book. Still one of my favorite classics of all time, and still makes me cry every single time. And now I feel like I want to go and watch that adaptation with Gregory Peck again, because y'all, that adaptation is one of the best adaptations I've seen. So, that's it for now. If you've read To Kill a Mockingbird, I know plenty of people have read this in school, if not on their own. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. What do you think would be good bibliotherapy recommendations for To Kill a Mockingbird? As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. Keep reading, and I love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.